let's go to the Book of Faces and the Twittosphere. Gotta go all the way to the wonderful north side tonight to go get my father.
Oh, that does not sound fun.
At midnight. Pick him up from the airport.
I've done that trip. I picked up a friend of mine who was flying back into town, and unfortunately, that was the same night my transmission went out when I was coming back from picking him up. So I didn't get home till like close to 4 in the morning, and it cost me about $1,900 to fix the transmission.
Oh.
That was miserable.
Yeah, I have no wanting to do that at all. But
I don't blame you.
It is what it is. That's what happens when you have other folks who don't want to go help you, that live on that side of town.
Right.
Want to go? I'm like, okay.
I hate autoplay ads. Absolutely hate them. Trying to pull up some statistic stuff, and it's like, oh, hey, we're going to play this ad. Like, I don't want you to play video. I just want the information. That's all I want. If we go drive chart, that's not going to help. Stupid.
All right, here we go. All right, so we are good to go. Looks like we are up. We are running. We're streaming. We're live. So we'll get right into it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of Jag Blitz, bringing the Duval to the interwebs. I am your host, Lob Boyd, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, the MC Wale. How you doing, sir?
I've had better days, Lawrence. I've had better days.
Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good.
I blame the Jaguars for this one.
You're getting cut off right about here, so we see from your glasses down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if that was what you were going for.
I don't know. If I could not show my face tonight, I totally would. But unfortunately, we are a visual show, so I will make sure I fix that as best as I can. Hopefully, it looks better.
So, quick overview. We are the wonderful 1010 XL alternative. We talk everything and anything Jaguars. We are just some good old fans of the team with our own perspectives on everything that happens. The 3 topics we're going to talk about tonight are going to be Game 4 overview, panic time, and then looking ahead to Game 5. So let's get right into it. Game 4, what were your thoughts?
That was worse than the Patriots game. It really was. It was an awful, awful situation. You have an opportunity to go in to steal a division game, and literally everything was just bad. And there are some positives about what happened, but in the ultimate outcome, none of it means anything because it was just a terrible game to watch. You have a Colts offense that is beat up, especially at the quarterback position. Andrew Luck didn't even play. They started 40-year-old Matt Hasselbeck, who hasn't started a game in the NFL in 3 years, and you let him go out and do what he did. Your defense, even though they held the opponents to 13 points, your offense couldn't do the same thing. You have a quarterback in Blake Bortles who had statistically a pretty good game. If you're looking at the stats, he was 28 for 50, 298 yards, and a touchdown. You had T.J. Yeldon that went for 105 yards on the ground. You had Allen Hurns who went over 100 yards receiving, and yet you only put up 13 points. Like, I don't understand. I do not get why I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It's so baffling. And then on top of all of it, you have your rookie kicker misses 2 really crucial kicks, and you end up falling to a bad Colts team who literally just benched their starter because they knew they could go out there and beat you without him. And it's the ultimate sign of disrespect. The Jaguars can't get out of their own way, and I think every Jags fan that was pissed off on Sunday and is still angry and still mad, it's justified.
Yeah. There's no sugarcoating here. I was more upset with this game than the other games. Than game one was like, oh, okay, first game of the year. Game two, pumped. Game three, shrugged it off as a Pats loss. But to me, this is one of, especially with no Andrew Luck. Like, I legitimately thought, okay, Andrew Luck plays. Yeah, this game's a toss-up. It's Andrew Luck, even though their offensive line is garbage. This game is a toss-up. But when I saw it, like, that morning, Sunday morning, official, Andrew Luck not starting, I was like, hell yeah, we gonna win. And I prepped myself excited-wise right until game time. Not drinking, but seriously, like, the excitement level was building the whole time because I just thought, we're going to score 35 points. We're going to go in and we're going to run 250 yards. TJ Yeldon is going to have this monster game. Blake is going to start clicking. This is going to be that game that sets us off. And we have a manageable, good season. And I say good, relatively. And then we go in and lay a goose egg.
Poop themselves. That's what they did.
And the first half, I'm sitting there going, okay, I guess, and in the back of my brain, I'm still thinking, okay, halftime adjustments are a thing with this team, but unfortunately they're not. We are probably the worst halftime adjustment team I think I've ever seen. In a sense that you go into halftime.
We don't make adjustments. We don't. It's like,
or the adjustments we make are terrible.
I don't think they make adjustments. I think they go into halftime and they're just like, all right, we're doing we're doing all right. We're right, and we're still in this game, and we're just gonna kick back and keep doing what we do, which is a terrible way of going into halftime. I mean, you have to now analyze. Okay, this worked. This is what didn't work. Our opponents are gonna try and stop what worked for us. So why don't we flip the script on them? But no, none of that happens.
Yeah, and it was probably it was so prevalent to me that this team is so poorly coached when we had the only Colts touchdown, which was 5 penalties on defense. And it seemed like
sick.
Every time that we would get, it was on like third down and long too. I was like, oh, third down and long. Here we go. Third down and long. And then we would commit some stupid penalty. And it would be a hold penalty, like 2 or 3 pass interference penalties. Or when Clemens was going to get a sack, he hit Matt Hasselbeck in the head, roughing the passer.
Which was a BS call, by the way.
I agree. Half the calls on that drive, were BS calls. But it was just one of those things where, like you said, we wouldn't get out of the way of ourselves. Second half rolls around. And we have like 5 or 6 drives in the second half that account for nothing. Like 0 points and then
0 points. Here's the sad thing. Let's say out of those 5 possessions, you go down there and you kick field goals and you make those field goals. That's 6 points. And you know what? That puts you up 19-0 or 19-10 at that point. Just one of
those things,
where
to me, I'm not gonna sit here and insult on Myers, because to be quite frank and to be quite honest, we shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with.
I agree with that 100%. I said that a few times.
It's like, hey, we're gonna sit here and get mad at a kicker, and don't be bringing up that bring back Josh Obi crap. I don't want to hear it. But we should not be putting our rookie kicker in his 4th game ever. Be like, yo, we need you to kick 40+ yarders to win us the game.
Well, not even that. It's more along the lines of if your offense was able to move the ball pretty effectively throughout most of the game. It's that third quarter for some reason. They just cannot figure it out. They don't know how to move the ball. And it sucks because, like you were saying, and like I was saying all week, if the Jags were able to score even just field goals on 2 of the 5 possessions they punted in the third and going into the fourth quarter, we're not even talking about a Jaguars loss. We're looking at a 19-10 win for the Jags.
Yep, or 20
or 19, yeah, something like that.
20 to 10.
Because it changes the mindset. It's going to force the Colts to play more aggressive, and then with you having a 2-score lead, you have a couple opportunities to do some things. But no, Yeah, we're going to keep it close. 13-13 sounds like a good score, and we're content with going into overtime. Some BS, man.
Yeah, when we went into overtime, I pretty much checked out at that point in time. I was pretty resound to the fact that we were going to lose. And it's probably the worst. Like, I took it the worst of any loss that I can remember, other than probably the 99 AFC Championship. I was a little kid. But, I mean, I sat there and I only drank from about noon to about 5:30, and like I passed out. Like I didn't like drink to blackout. Like I was so stressed, I just passed out on the couch, and I woke up at 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh, what happened? And my wife's like, you passed the f out, and she's like, you need to calm and take a chill pill because you've never. And then it just ruined the next day. Like the whole next day, I'm just salty. So, and it was one of those things like I got good sleep, and I was still like, ugh. This is what I watch. This is what I'm going to Tampa for next week.
Yeah, and I got some feedback from people that were like, "Oh, well, whatever." When I was upset, I was like, "Look, I don't know if I want to do this. It's yeah, going down with the Bolt City Brigade because they're great people and it's a great group and everything, and going out and having fun and having a good time is all great. And it's all fine. It's all dandy and everything. But when push comes to shove, the real reason we're going down there is because we want see our team perform the best they can and see our team try and win a football game. And watching that performance on Sunday didn't make me feel like, oh, this is worth the time and the finances and the energy to do this. It's not always a money thing. It's like, what else could you be doing with your time? Like, I have family members I haven't seen in a couple of weeks. I've got things I need to do around my house. It's like, do I want to spend the time? Do I want to spend that energy? And like, my schedule's crazy. I have to go to Tallahassee on Friday for a high school to call a high school game, and then I got to drive from Tallahassee to Tampa on Saturday. Like, this is going to put a lot of miles on my car. It's a lot. It's I'm not trying to make it seem like a big deal, but it kind of is if you look at it, the grand scheme of things. And it's like, look, you just want the Jaguars to be better than they have. And unfortunately, I'm not saying that the plan that they've set for themselves isn't working, but it leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm right there with you. I bought 6 tickets to go to Tampa, and 2 of the people that were supposed to go with me and my wife and the 2 other people dipped out. They're like, yep, we'll eat it. We eat the cost. We're not going. No big deal. And then Monday morning, my wife texts me, which I don't look at text while I'm driving. So just put that out there.
I do, so I'll own it.
I waited till I was at work in the parking lot. And I get to work at the parking lot, and I'm sitting there, and she's like, yeah, if you could find somebody else to go in my spot, that'd be great. I will go to the symphony instead. It's the start of the Jacksonville Symphony, and her grandmother has season tickets to the symphony. And so she's like, I would rather go to that and just stay home. So
that's brutal, man.
I have 2. You haven't cost. They're with all of us in the BCB section, so let me know. Otherwise, they will go unused because that's about it.
Right.
But no, we'll hop into the next topic here. Panic time. So we're 4 games in. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Is it time for panic? Do you think this roster right now better than what it was 4 years ago? Is this, bringing back wonderful soft memories of Jack Del Rio? And how many more performances like this game, first game of the season, the game against the Pats, do you think Gus has till he's gone? Do you think this really matters in the grand scheme of things?
Okay, focusing on the roster, I think this roster is definitely better than it was 4 years ago. Even with Mike Mularkey kind of running things, this team was a dumpster fire, man. It was really bad. The fact that you're looking at your quarterbacks in Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne, 2 guys that honestly shouldn't be touching football fields to begin with, and you have it's a much better roster, but there are still some concerns with the roster. Like, there's no depth at linebacker. Obviously, there's issues with pass rushers because the guys that you rolled in the season with aren't doing a good job as far as getting to the quarterback. Your offensive line is starting to take a beating. Zane Beatles needs to go. He's a terrible left guard, and he needs to get out of there. Like they gotta switch something up with him, or not, like, get him gone, because he is not good at what he's doing. And then looking at like some of the free agency moves that they tried to make, maybe they should have tried to be a little more aggressive a year ago in free agency. Try and target some bigger names. It's the roster is better. As far as panic, I'm not hitting panic. I'm concerned,
On a
but
scale
I'm not.
of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like
probably
insane.
So 10 being complete, like, utter chaos.
Like, I'm done. Like, just get rid. Like, hit the abort button and start over.
Hit me at I'll put me at a 5, because I still think that this roster is good enough to win 6 games. It's just now it really is. All right, we're starting to see that it might be coaching. It might not be the fact that we just don't have the players in the spots that we need them in. Like, granted, it would be help if we had a few more better players. But as it stands right now, I mean, our roster on Sunday was better than the Colts roster.
Yes.
Outside of luck, that roster up and down is a lot better than what the Colts are trotting out there. Going down to Tampa Bay, I wouldn't say the Tampa Bay Bucks have a better roster. I would say it's actually probably Tampa Bay might have a slight edge as far as better team, but I think that the Jaguars are better organized and a better structure, are better fit as far as what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. As far as reminiscing about the JDR days, all right, Jack Del Rio was a decent coach. I don't want to say he was great, and I also don't want to say he was terrible. I mean, he dealt with the cards that he had and was pretty successful with them. But the problem is that if you weren't a Jack Del Rio guy, regardless of what your talent level was, you were going to be shipped off or you were going to get cut. And he got rid of a lot of decent players that could have helped his roster. But he was also hamstrung with Byron Leftwich and David Garrard. So, I mean, I don't know how much more he could have really gotten out of those rosters with those two quarterbacks. And looking at the performances of Game 1, Game 3, and obviously what happened on Sunday, I mean, Gus, for the fans, Gus is on an extremely short leash. But I think within the organization and what we're hearing from insiders and stuff like that is that Gus, his seat's a little warm. But, I mean, they're going to use the injuries, They're going to use the fact that, Blake is in his second year, and also using the AFC South as a whole. The AFC South as an entire division is not very good. So it could be just like, look, we're all teams are struggling. There's a lot of 1-3 teams right now. I think there was like something along the lines of 22% of, not 22% of, like 22 teams in the league are either 2-2 or worse.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, you're looking at over 70% of the league is average to bad. So, I mean, there are a lot of circumstances that are going. And if you keep in mind, it's like, yeah, it was a 16-13 loss in overtime to the Colts, who are the division leaders. So in the grand scheme of things, people will look back and be like, oh, okay, was that really that bad? It was when you looked at the game, but
it's not a Colts team. And so I'll say for a panic meter for me, and panic, 10 being blow everything up and start over, 0 being, yeah, you're good. I'm probably at a 7.
Okay, so you're close to bailing.
Yeah, and it's not from the roster. I think you look at the roster top to bottom from what Dave was dealt when he picked up the team 4 years ago, 3 years ago rather. I think that, the team is not leaps and bounds, but it is definitely better top to bottom. I mean, we've got 2 wide receivers in the top 15. We've got a production in the league. We've got a quarterback that looks to be putting up the second most touchdowns in franchise history. If everything trends that way. And if you look at kind of our overall, we'll call it not star power, because we don't really have anybody than a star because our star is still hurt, but whatever. You look at the overall talent and people that you say, you look at it and you say, okay, yeah, this is a solid team. My panic mode comes from coaching and
Yeah, that's fair.
the inability to get results out of what I consider a good team, not a great team, a good team. This is an 8-8 team. I think with everything going on in the league, and I know that I said I'd be happy with 6 wins. Yes, I'll be happy.
8-8. No, I don't think so.
I think. Well, I mean, you talk about who we're playing, right? So say we should be 3-1 at this turn in the season, not 1-3.
I agree with that.
And then if you go in, you say, okay, Tampa technically should be a win, so that puts you at 4 wins. And then you look at Tennessee, okay, that's 5 wins. And then you look at the rest of the schedule, you say, okay, we could probably, sweep Houston and then potentially sweep Tennessee. So that puts us at 7 wins, and you can't think we can't find another win in there. Whether it's the Jets, the Bills, or New Orleans. Yeah, I think New Orleans could. So I think in that sense, we should be 8-8. In retrospect, looking at what we've done before, I think the biggest issue, and this comes from somebody who's been in style, I don't think Gus is good enough to manage the personalities of who's below him. I think he's a wonderful players coach. I think it's admirable that players are sticking up for Gus, whether it's on Twitter or other outlets. But it's one of those things, I don't think he has it in him to sit there and pull Olsen aside, Babich aside, and say, what the F, dude? What's going on? Like, really, really grill somebody or even have that tough conversation with somebody that's a subordinate and say, hey, we have to get results and really leverage that as a head coach. I mean, as a head coach, your job is rah-rah. Go through, be positive, which he is wonderful at. And then it's management of personalities and personnel. It's not necessarily like your in-game calls. Gus is not he's not Mike McCarthy. He's not Sean Payton, so he's not coaching the offense. He's not coaching the defense in the game.
My question is why isn't he just specifically looking at the defense? Why isn't he coaching the defense? I think that Bob Babich has done.
I don't disagree with you.
Has done a decent job as far as keeping the game as a bend but don't break. But I mean, come on, we're 3 years into this thing.
Yes,
like we should not be allowing 300. We should not allow Matt Hasselbeck to throw for nearly 300 yards.
I don't disagree. I mean, when Gus took a more, we'll call it defined role last year at the second half of the season after the bye, our defense improved. So I don't see why that shouldn't be a possibility. It's just one of those things. I just don't. When you go through it and people are asking the questions in the press conferences, like, "Hey, did you know you weren't playing press?" He's like, "I didn't even know, guy."
Like, how are you not aware? He said, like, the press conference ticked me off so much when he literally gets to the stadium and gets to the podium and says, "Oh, hey, this was definitely a great game to watch and great game to be a part of." When is a 16-13 game ever great? It's not. That's
30
usually
years ago.
Yeah, that's usually really terrible football.
Terry Bradshaw
Unless you're watching like Iowa, Wisconsin this weekend. That game ended 10-6. I mean, that's exciting football for you. Then I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the part of me that is 7 on the panic meter, is that our roster is still fairly young, and I don't want our roster to get used to mediocrity and celebrating mediocrity. And I think that Gus is one of those people that is wildly positive, which I think is great 3 years ago when you're turning over a complete roster. I just don't see that being the same way now, saying, hey, positive, we don't want to be negative. It's like you can kind of act that way in front of the media, I think, to an extent, before it just becomes like, okay, I'm done. You're going to come out. Doesn't matter how terrible you do, you're going to find like, come on now. Sometimes if you're going to be, a coach's coach, sometimes you just need to come out and say, we sucked. That's it. It's on me. We're going to work on some things, rather than come out here and try to sell this big BS pile to us and the fans and say, oh, well, we're close. It harkens back
it's
to Mike
insulting.
Malarkey.
It's absolutely insulting to tell your fan base pretty much, oh, hey, we know what we're doing, but we're afraid to admit what we're doing is not working. Like, look, if you make a mistake, if you tell your fan base, look, we made a lot of mistakes. That game was on me. We should have been a little bit more aggressive. We should have tried this. We should have done that. We should have left Indianapolis with a win instead of saying that was a great game to be a part of and I'm glad I got to witness it. And like, come on, dude, you're not there to watch games. We're there to watch games. You're there to coach.
Correct.
Coach this team to a respectable level. They benched their quarterback and started their backup because they knew they could beat you with him. Mm-hmm. How fucking disrespectful is that? And excuse my language, but like that's the out and out honest truth, man. That's disrespect at the highest level in the NFL. If I'm Gus Bradley, I would have come to that press conference mad as hell. I mean, like, they started a 40-year-old Matt Hasselbeck on my defense, and he looked great.
I don't see absolutely great. He's not like that at halftime or in the pregame. How do you not use that as a chip on your shoulder going into the game and psych your players up and say, hey, they don't respect you enough to start somebody that is physically and has said, hey, I'm good to go, and then they roll it back at the last minute? Like, how is that not something like post-board material? Like, the good coaches in the NFL are going to use that.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, it's at a 7. I don't think we need to get rid of Dave. I think Dave is done okay or much better than who's been before him, other than maybe you can say that, Shaq had a few picks here or there, but definitely better as a whole, other than maybe Jokel in terms of who he's picked and who he's brought in free agency wise. Yeah.
Here's the funny thing. Jokel didn't have a bad game on Sunday.
No, he didn't. Right. I'm not throwing Jokel under the bus. I'm just saying if we're talking about people picked, in where they were picked, Jokel still is not living up to number 2 overall.
Well, I mean, not many players in that draft are living up to their draft status
but I mean, if we're going to
keep it in context,
if we're going to judge him off of who he's brought in, I think he's done a good job. And I was looking over the list of coaches that were hired the same year that Gus was hired. Gus was one of the better at the time. He was one of the more sought after. It's like, okay, Seattle wins the Super Bowl, one of the best defenses in the last 10 years, and you go out and get their defensive coordinator. That sounds like a win. But you go look at who else was there, and it's like, okay, head coach of the Redskins, Washington football team, excuse me, no longer there. It's
keep
like
doing that.
Mark Trestman, no longer there. Okay, it's like Philbin, no longer there. I mean, you can go down the list. The person that sticks out of who's still there is Bruce Arians. Doug Marrone, no longer with the Bills. But I mean, it's like Bruce Arians is really the only person from there, and I'm not going to count Andy Reid. I'm not going to count Chip Kelly at this point because their teams have been okay. Yes, Chip Kelly had a couple of 10-win seasons, but they look like garbage. And so, but Bruce Arians has really been the only home run coach out of who was brought in.
Out of all of them. You're right.
So I'm not going to sit there and say, well, Dave, you got the wrong guy. It's technically your first time. I'm willing to give him another shot, just like Atlanta gave their general manager another shot to get the right general manager. So that's why I'm at a 7, not at an 8 or a 9 or a 10 to say get rid of just everybody, because I don't want to start over. And I'm not at a point where I'm like, okay, who do we keep? Who do we not keep? I'm thinking that's for the next head coach to stand. And I don't remember who it was that tweeted out that there was another quarterback. Oh, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's had like 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators in the last 3 or 4 years, and he seems to do.
And he's made it work.
Yeah. So that kind of eased my mentality a little bit as to Blake dealing with a third coordinator. And I don't know. Personally, I would almost consider cutting Gus and letting Doug Marrone run the rest of the year. He went 9-7 with the Bills, and maybe he runs offense, but I don't know. So let's head to I'm not even going to talk about Jack Del Rio. I don't care. We had two decent seasons, we'll call it, under Jack, and a lot of mediocrity, almost over the hump. So we were, as Bruce Arians says, we were the St. Louis Rams of the AFC South. So,
yeesh, damn, that sucks.
Bruce Arians talking about the Rams now, how they're the team that's always 8-8. That's kind of what we were during that season. So I'm not.
Although we would take that 8-8 in a heartbeat right now.
That's a terrible. I'm sitting there. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, how are you okay with media? I mean, I could understand, but our Pats fans,
expectations are a weird thing, man.
our Pats fans like, yeah, we're good with 8-8. Steelers fans like, yeah, bring on the 8-8 season, guys. Or Green Bay Packers fans, oh man, if we could just get 8-8, we'd be cool. Like, no, you should be wanting to be good, not
When you're a bad
okay.
team, especially as bad as we've been over the past few years, that's what you aim for. Like you aim for average.
We've been
8 and 8
bad
is average.
since about 2009. So I get it, but I still am sitting there. I'm like, I could understand a little bit, but sitting there talking about how you want to bring back somebody that got our kicker hurt because he had a wood chopping block in the pregame, like because you're chopping wood. Like, come on.
Chopping wood.
Or I just remember all those games that I went to. People were like, Del Rio, you suck.
I don't think I ever told Del Rio he sucked. I
didn't
just got
either,
tired.
but
I got tired of David throwing interception at the worst possible moment. Gerard.
Yeah, but we'll go last topic here. So, looking Game 5, Tampa. It's been kind of hinted at there'll be 8,000 of us Jaguar fans strong. I'm sure there'll be a few Tampa Bay folk, friends that have been peppered in, sprinkled in rather, that'll be there with us. But for the most part, let's say conservatively 7,500 of us in that end zone-ish area. What are your thoughts here?
I want to say they go in and they bounce back and they find a way to win, but man, I'm at the point where I'm going down there with no expectations whatsoever. Like I'm almost going to the point where I'm just going down there to have fun with my friends and oh hey, we're going to a football game. Not like hey, we're going to go see the Jaguars play. It's like oh no, hey, we're going to go watch football now. I want to see Blake can kind of continue the progression that he has. I want to see Greg Olsen call another pretty good game. He called a pretty solid game. It was just some of the execution wasn't there. And
I like that he threw salt on the offense. I really do. And that's what I want to. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I really liked in today's presser where he's like, I called a good game. We just didn't execute.
Yeah.
If you look at, I looked at the tape. The tape showed people were open. The plays weren't executed. I think that needs to happen more. That's why I'm ready for change. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah. But I mean, not Marcus Mariota. Jameis Winston. He's thrown 7 picks in 4 games. He's a rookie. You can get to him. Doug Martin, even though he's a very good running back, the Jaguars' run defense is top 10 in the league. So find a way to stop Doug Martin. I mean, you don't have to worry. All you really have to worry about are the wide receivers, Vincent Jackson. Just making sure you try and lock down those wide receivers a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if Julius Thomas can get cleared, even if he doesn't catch any passes. Just running him out there to run routes might be just enough to get your offense really, really being able to click a little bit better. I hope Allen Hurns is a guy that can bounce back from his injury. I don't think we're going to see Marquise Lee for the rest of the year, by the way, but that's you didn't hear that from me. I'm just that's just a feeling that I have. But I want to say they win. I won't be surprised if they lose again though. Like it is exactly like it's that way for this squad. It's either you're feeling confident and they're gonna find a way to do it, or you're just giving them no chance of being able to pull the win. So I'm going in with no expectations, man. And I know that sounds terrible, especially as a diehard fan of the team. But I mean, look, I can't keep doing this shit every year, man. It's rough.
I'm right there. I am going down Saturday fairly early with somebody because they're a UF fan, so I'll have to bear through and watch a UF game with them because it's part.
You make that sound like a bad thing.
Being a UF fan is not a bad thing. I have nothing against UF fans. It's just that I don't like watching UF football because I don't like UF, but that's in what itself. So I have nothing against UF fans at all. I just don't want to be subjected to watching the game, and out of good faith and being a good travel partner, I will. And because they agreed to drive, so definitely they hold all the cards. So whatever they want to do, other than go to certain entertainment places that Saturday night, that's gonna happen. So
I think I know which entertainment places you're talking about.
So I told him, I was like, I will do whatever you want, other than go to these places. And I said it's not because because I'm married, I can't go. It's because monetarily we can't go, so it's not gonna happen. So I was like, unless you want to throw down, let's not even think about it. So, but yeah,
Fair enough.
I'll be going, and I'm ecstatic. I'm gonna meet up a friend of mine who I kind of grew up with, who moved to Tampa for school, and I'm gonna give him his BCB packet I got for him. And then I'm excited to kind of go through. My childhood friend of mine's coming with. So I'm excited to hang out, and it's going to be one of the very few games I DVR, just so and if they don't, I'll be pissed. When they show that end zone and they show all that black and teal in the end zone or teal and white or whatever, I'm just going to be like, that's what I'm hoping for. Do I think we should win the game? Yes. Is my expectation to win the game?
Will we?
Is my expectation that we'll win the game? No. I'm right there with you. This we'll call it subpar coach team can't seem to pull out the wins when they should. So I'm not going to go down and expect to win. We could go up 21-0. Kind of like we did with Philly last year. And I would not be surprised if Jameis Winston comes out in the fourth quarter and pulls an upset just like he did at FSU for his 2 seasons at FSU, just because we are that poorly coached to where I think that if that started to happen, guys be like, I don't know what's going on, guys. I mean, somebody do something. He's just start shaking his hands on the sidelines, like somebody tackle somebody do something, because I just think that's where we're at. So we win, great. I'll be driving home Monday, stoked as hell. Yes, if we lose and we're driving home Monday, I'll say such is life, and I'll be at the Houston game with my wife for the first time because that'll be her first game. Unless she dips out for a symphony again. I don't know.
She might. Depends on how she's feeling.
Do I think this is a make or break game for Gus? No. I think that Khan and Dave are going to give him potentially his full 4 years, unfortunately. I think that's kind of, they've been fairly transparent. Do I want Gus gone? Yes. Hashtag Gus gone. Do I think he should be let go? Sure. And I'm not really big for advocating people to get fired or let go, but I think that, hey, this isn't the fit for you, bro. You need to move along and coach defense because you're really good at it. But I think that it's one of those expectations that not expectations, but they laid it out when everything was brought together. Khan said, Dave's my guy. And then Dave said, Gus is my guy. So I don't really think that there is a hot seat or a short leash per se, because
they're going to stick with the plan. And if they stick with it, and hopefully if they do decide to go all 4 years, I hope that it works out, man. That's all we can hope for. But once again, it just remains to be seen if they can do it.
Yeah, and I'm curious. My cynicism says, okay, how long will Khan, and Khan is a super more smarter than I'll probably ever be in life, business person, to sit there and say, okay, I've got, let's just say 10 to 20,000 people, give or take, as casual fans that fill up that stadium on Sunday, and say, okay, do I potentially miss out on all that revenue, whether it's jersey sales, food in the stadium, beverage in the stadium, ticket revenue, to stick to the plan? And I have to feel that Khan is somebody who's probably 100 times more competitive than I am, because that's just how a person like that's got to be a CEO, billionaire. You've got to be competitive. Like, you've got to be insanely competitive. So at a point where potentially we have another losing season, in a bad losing season, not even just losing season like 7-9 or 6-8 or 6-10, like another 4-win season, does he sit there and go, bruh, I can't do, I can't do this anymore? It's kind of where I was at, where going into a new job after a job I was at for 8 years, where I was very, very successful, going to a new job and have to deal with being unsuccessful for a year and a half. Like, how many times do you think Cons will be like, yes, kick me in the nuts and let's keep going? That's what I'll be curious to see is to,
Unless he's a glutton for punishment, I can't imagine that
yeah.
he would do it. But you never, like you said, you never know. It could be one of those things where he rattles off maybe like 4 or 5 back-to-back wins, and it kind of inspires confidence. Maybe it all clicks towards the end of the season. But literally, find a way to win on Sunday, so that way you can get a little bit of the
Yes.
pressure off. If you can do anything, find a way to win Sunday.
And I agree with you. Winning cures all. So winning cures everything. And I hope the players finally prove us wrong, since they were so wonderfully willing to tell us on Twitter the past couple of days
That's a whole nother thing.
how they were going to prove us wrong. So please, let's not let the 40-year-old quarterback, the 36-year-old wide receiver, and the 34-year-old running back, let's not prove them wrong. Let's prove the really young bad team that's down in Tampa. Let's prove the fan base wrong here rather than the team you should have beat the week before, but whatever.
I agree with you.
So that's going to be it for us. Unless you've got anything else left.
I do not. See you in Tampa, buddy.
So you can check us out here at Twitch at twitch.tv/JagBlitz. You can also check us out at YouTube at JagBlitz. The content will be uploaded right after this, and you can catch Wale at the MC Wale.
Were you about to hashtag me?
I was sorry.
Rude.
I'm in the hashtag mode right now. Hashtag. And you can catch me at Lawboyd. Follow us, like us, give us feedback. Hopefully, we may have a guest speaker next week. We're not sure. So, thank you, everybody, again. We will see you after Tampa.